Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have an interesting episode for you guys. You want to make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it here. Well, it looks like the off-season drama is finally getting started, and we're not even in July yet. As y'all are fully aware, one of the most interesting parts about an NBA season is the off-season. Right? It just is, because it's where all of the big blockbuster deals happen, and the NBA starts ramping up the excitement for the next season, right? People love it, including me, right? Teams make moves, and then all of a sudden, like, what's this team going to be? And then Vegas starts making its picks. People start making their early season predictions and all of that. And we've had some really big off seasons over the last few years in the NBA. If we're being honest about it. If y'all can remember, just a few years ago, there was the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George move that really shook up the entire NBA landscape. Remember, Kawhi Leonard had just won his championship with the Toronto Raptors, and a lot of people were like, where's Kawhi Leonard going to make his decision? Because all of the major free agents like Jimmy Butler, I believe Kevin Durant, had already made their decision, and Kawhi Leonard was the last shoe to drop, and then ultimately he ended up signing with the Los Angeles Clippers and somehow was able to get Paul George to break his contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that was a big story. So that was one of them. Also, we had Anthony Davis signing with the Los Angeles Lakers, which created that whole Battle of LA scenario that we saw play out over the last few years. That was a big one, and I think probably the biggest one of them all was when the Brooklyn Nets were able to acquire Kevin Durant to go play with Kyrie Irving. Then subsequently, they were able to acquire James Harden and turn it into the Nets' big three, which was a huge storyline. And of course, last season, we had Russell Westbrook signing with the Lakers, which also created a lot of excitement. A lot of people picked the Lakers to be the team to represent the West, and obviously they were wrong. It ended up being, the Golden State Warriors. So off-season moves are a pretty big thing. And now it seems as if we're right back where we started, and it seems like the Lakers are right back at it again. Why am I saying the Lakers are right back at it again? Because the Lakers are the one team in the NBA that is generated a lot of championships via trade. Right? They're one of the few teams that if you look at a vast majority of their championships, or vast amount of their championships, they've done it via trades. If you think of Shaq, they were able to acquire Shaq through trade. They were able to acquire Kobe Bryant. I think Kobe Bryant was drafted by the Hornets, if I'm not mistaken. Then they were able to acquire Paul Gasol via trade. And obviously, they were able to acquire Anthony Davis through a trade. And all of those trades amounted to 6 NBA championships. 6. 3 with Kobe and Shaq. Then you have 2 with Kobe and Powell. That's 5. And of course, you have Anthony Davis with LeBron James. Well, LeBron signed as a free agent, right? So the Lakers are very good at doing that. And now it seems as if, according to an NBA insider, they're trying to do that right. I mean, they're trying to do that again. And we're getting this article. I want to get into this article here. We're getting it via sportsrush.com. So let me just get into the article here and come back and react to it. So the article starts off, LeBron James wants Bradley Beal despite the $245 million to be paid. Insider reveals Lakers' potential plans to acquire Wizards star this offseason. The article continues on. NBA Insider reports LeBron James and the Lakers' potential plans to bring in a certain Wizards star during the offseason. Now, and it continues on. As you remember, this past regular season was a complete wash for them. First, they fell off from contention to be from being one of the best teams in the NBA. Then they fell from contention to not being even a top 5 seed in the Western Conference. Basically, it continues on to say, NBA insider Kevin O'Connor reveals massive news linking Bradley Beal to a potential team up with LeBron James and the Lakers. And he basically says here, he says, the one name that I've heard recently is Bradley Beal as another guy that they want. Kevin O'Connor reported on the Void podcast. I'm not sure if the interest is mutual. Beal, it seems like Miami would be more of a threat to take him away from Washington. I don't think you can also rule out Boston either because of his relationship with Jason Tatum. But the Lakers are trying to angle for some moves like that using Russ's expiring and 27 and 29 fifths. So basically, That's what the article had to say there. I'm sure you guys can go read about it, from various sources. I saw it from SI.com. They also have articles there about it. So it seems as if Russell Westbrook is still in play. As y'all remember, Russell Westbrook made an appearance when the Lakers introduced their new head coach, Darvin Ham. In the introduction press conference, he was actually standing at the back. He was there, I guess, to give support to his head coach. So some people were saying, and of course, Darvin Ham had some positive things to say about Russell Westbrook, saying he's a great player and all these different things. Some people speculated, maybe he's just trying to beef up his trade value. And some people like, no, he really thinks Russell Westbrook is a great piece. We had also gotten some reports that the Lakers were searching for a coach that could find a way to incorporate Russell Westbrook into the system that the Lakers are using in order to be able to maximize that trade. So there've been various stories kind of floating around, but this story kind of insinuates that, Russell Westbrook may be the piece that the Lakers may be looking to deal away quietly. So, as y'all know, the Lakers owe Russell Westbrook this season $47 million in the final year of his contract, which is a huge contract, right? They owe him $47 million. And some people have speculated that, listen, the Lakers don't want to pay him that amount of money. But then some people have also said Jeannie Buss wants to keep him on the team to kind of stick it to LeBron, because LeBron ultimately was the guy that said Russell Westbrook should come on board, right? So there've been, various reports considering that. Now, we do know that they have to pay him that money. And one of the biggest concerns that Laker fans have is, if they were to trade Russ, who would want him? Who would want that type of contract on their books? This brings in Bradley Beal. Why? Because Bradley Beal is also in the final year of his deal with the Washington Wizards, and he's being owed $36.4 million for his last season. And that means this: if the Washington Wizards were able to package him in another piece, they could potentially find a way to make the salaries match, because y'all know in NBA trades, salaries need to match, or they need to come very, very close, I believe, within a few $100,000 or a few $1 million. I'm not exactly sure, and that's not my job, so I don't need to know that, to that extent. I just need to have a general idea of it. Anyway, that's basically how it works. So if they were able to get a deal that would make the numbers work, essentially what could happen is this: the Lakers could move Russell Westbrook back to Washington, which is unconscionable to be even talking about, considering the fact he just came from DC. But anyway, they'll be able to move him there, right? Get that contract off their books. Not really, they're just swapping contracts. So they're able to get him off, really get off that player. Then in the case of the Washington Wizards, they'll be able to write off $47 million. Not really write it off, but they will be able to free up cap space going into next season, because what would happen is you could trade acquire Russell Westbrook, and then let his contract run out and then let him walk, and you've freed up $47 million of cap space, right? Because the contract is expiring at the end of this season. And in the case of the Lakers, they can bring on a new contract. And I don't think the Lakers are averse to spending money. I just think the Lakers want to make sure their money is being spent well. There's a fundamental difference. There's some people that have no problem spending a lot of money as long as their money is being put to good use. What some people that even have money that don't like to do is they don't like to spend their money, and they feel like they're not getting the value back. Right? I don't think the Lakers would have a problem remaining in their luxury tax, paying somebody a $35 million contract if that guy was producing results, because ultimately you want to win, and to make money, you got to spend money, right? There's no secret about this. So I think the Lakers would be able to get a younger player. Bradley Beal is only 28 years old or so, and then they'll be able to move off on an aging superstar or superstar, whatever you want to call it, and Russell Westbrook. So here are the two key questions that I have for people that are interested in this particular scenario, this particular trade. Number one, can they pull it off? That's the first question. Number two, will he be able to help solve some of the Lakers' pressing issues or their major problems? Those are the two major questions that we have at hand. Number one, obviously anything is possible in the NBA, especially with the Lakers organization. As I mentioned before, they were able to trade Pau Gasol, and a lot of people consider that trade to be a heist, right? Somehow the Lakers were able to pull it off, and they almost found a way to pull off the trade when they ended up signing Chris Paul. So the Lakers have a history of making, turning water into wine, right? The Lakers can do that. So I think that's possible if they set their minds to it. And obviously we saw Lawrence Frank and these guys acquire Kawhi Leonard and somehow acquire Paul George. So I don't know how they did that, but they did that as well. So I think the Lakers have the ability to pull a rabbit out of the hat. So that answers the first question. To the second question, can he help them solve their problems? That remains to be seen. I think he can certainly help them with their spacing. Bradley Beal is a great shooter. I think last season he shot above 30% from the three-point line, which is better than Russell Westbrook. So I'm sure he'll be able to help them with their spacing. I think he'll also be able to help LeBron. He'll be able to lighten the load as far as scoring on LeBron James, because he's a bona fide scorer. I believe he led the league in scoring not too long ago. So I think you'll be able to help him there, especially when Anthony Davis missed games, because ultimately that is going to happen. AD has a history of just missing games, right? So if that happens, you have another bona fide scorer that can go in there and pick up the load. In the case, it's just him and LeBron James out there trying to keep the team afloat. So I think he can help them on the offensive side of the floor and help them with other things in terms of rest. LeBron can take some, rest periods here and there because he's an aging player. So that's one thing. On the defensive side of the floor, I'm not sure he can help them. I looked at Bradley Beal's player card. He's never made an all-defensive team. That's number one. Number two, he's an undersized guard. He's 6'4". He's not like a 6'5", 6'6" 2 guard. He's a 6'4". A 6'4" 2 guard. So if you're going to be playing against big wings in the Western Conference, you're looking at Klay Thompson. You're looking at John Moran, although he's a 6'3", 6'2" point guard. But of course, you're going to be playing against the Clippers, who have a lot of big guards in Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Marcus Morris Sr. These guys, you're going to need a little bit of size on the perimeter. To me, I think the Lakers will also need to make some additional moves. I think they need to get younger on the perimeter, and I think they need to get a little bit more athletic on the perimeter. But for now, this is the information that we have. So really the question is this: do you think that this thing is a possibility or not? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comment section. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.